Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Express podcast. I am your host, Scott Johnston, and I think we'd be remiss, especially since we're a West Coast show, if we didn't start it off with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. The quarterback conundrum, we'll say. We won't call it a controversy, we'll call it a quarterback conundrum in the Bay. Who is Harbaugh going to go with? If I was Harbaugh, I would go with Colin Kaepernick for the rest of the season. The thing is, I don't think he can. Alex Smith is a quarterback with the league's third best passer rating through 12 games this season. He is 25-1 in his last 26 starts. How can you bench him in favor of a guy, granted with a lot of upside and looks like he can be the future of your franchise, but how can you bench a quarterback with that record and who's done so much for your franchise? A quarterback that got you to the NFC Championship last year. People in the media keep bringing up the example of, oh, it's just like Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady. I'm sorry, but Drew Bledsoe didn't come off of a season in 2000 in which he just led the Patriots to the AFC Championship game. And Alex Smith has just come off of that. Randy Moss decided that Media Day was the right time to claim his stake as the greatest wide receiver of all time. And he obviously didn't care that there was another wide receiver that came before him that played in San Francisco for 16 years that I don't care who you are, anybody that follows football, whether you're anybody that's a coach, a player, a fan, somebody in the front office. I think there is massive agreement across the board that Mr. 80, Jerry Rice, is the greatest wide receiver ever to play the game. And Randy Moss says, nope, it's me. I've changed the game. What do you think about that? Now, let's move on to the Baseball Hall of Fame and that whole mess. First time since 1996, nobody was elected to the Hall of Fame in baseball. Granted, you had a lot of guys that had links or supposed links to steroids. And I thought there was a more established link between steroids and Roger Clemens, but I guess he never really tested positive. The only thing that's really linking him to steroids is Andy Pettitte saying that Roger Clemens introduced him to steroids. But here's the thing. Why would Andy Pettitte lie about that? What does he have to gain? But I think, Johnny, this provides a natural segue into talking a little hot stove. I know all the hot stove news has kind of been beat to death lately, but especially with missing the winter meetings and all this stuff when it was going down fresh. But let's kind of recap the hot stove season, and I want to start it off with the Angels signing of Josh Hamilton. That move still kind of has me scratching my head, especially after you say, I don't have the money for Torrey Hunter, who wants to stay there. And you say, our top target, or it seemed like our top target was Zach Greinke, and then they go out and sign another outfielder that they don't need. Since we brought up Mike Trout, in your opinion, down the line, who's going to be a better player? Mike Trout or Bryce Harper?
Oh, wow. That's tough to say because, I mean, they've both made instant impacts on their teams, and part of me wants to say Bryce Harper because he's already helped the Nationals get into the playoffs, but that doesn't really matter unless you win the final game of the season. Wow. That would kind of...
I had the exact same reaction you did, and what I said is, honestly, I think it's going to be a push.
It really is.
If anything, I gave the edge slightly to Harper only because of years.
Yeah, he's a little bit
He's
younger.
about a year and a half younger than Trout.
Yeah, couldn't
Or maybe a full 2.
Couldn't participate in the post-game celebrations when they made it to the playoffs. He had to stay outside the locker room 'cause not quite the drinking age yet.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that. That's funny.
He's
That's funny.
yeah.
Oh, come on, guys! You couldn't just use root beer
Or
for one
cider or something.
Yeah, come on, poor guy. We are pleased to have as our esteemed guest today the founder of the American Basketball Association, World Hockey Association, Roller Hockey International, the International Women's Walk of Fame, and the co-founder of World Team Tennis, Dennis Murphy, here on the Sports Express podcast today. I know you mentioned that the ABA really sprung out of you're losing out of a football team, but how was the ABA originally received by people when you started pitching it and saying, hey, we're going to come up with a league that's going to rival the NBA?
Well, I didn't at that time think of rivaling the NBA because we were just starting. But basically what happened was that the NBA just at that time only had just expanded by 6 teams. They were at 6 before, so that took them to 12. And there was a lot of great cities that, wanted to have a basketball team. So we were just fortunate to be at the right place at the right time.
And I think that is the perfect segue for our guest today, Ben Nicholson-Smith from MLB Trade Rumors, the head writer for MLB Trade Rumors. And we will be talking about baseball for the rest of the day. So, here we go. Then also, with the addition of Rafael Soriano, what do you think of that bullpen is going to be like in Washington?
It's going to be a strong bullpen, and it has been a strong bullpen in the past. I think that you add Soriano to that mix, it's going to be really good, and especially from the right side, you've got a lot of strong right-handed relievers there. My one concern with Washington's bullpen is that they don't have a lot of good lefties, and they lost a number of them this offseason. We already mentioned Sean Burnett, Tom Gorzolani. I mean, that's a lot of lefty arms to lose. So I think that would probably be the one weakness on their pitching staff.
I think that'll just about do it. Thanks a lot, Ben. I really appreciate your time today. I am Scott Johnston. We'll see you when we see you. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.